So I asked you to share some of your favorite HomeKit smart home automations with me, and boy, did you deliver. Today's video is gonna be a lot of fun because we're highlighting your awesome HomeKit smart home automations. There are some good ones. I can't wait. Let's go. Yo, what's up guys? My name is Shane if you're new here, and this channel is all about building an easy Apple home smart home with new videos published every Sunday and live streams every Wednesday. Today's video is sponsored by Eve. Now, if you're not familiar with Eve already, definitely check them out. They make many of my favorite smart home accessories. In fact, many of the automations that you guys shared with me for today's video are also utilizing many of the different Eve products as well. So I'm not the only one that loves them. Historically, Eve has made products that exclusively support Apple HomeKit. Now, over the past year or two, they've been transitioning all of their products to support HomeKit over Thread, and soon all of their existing Eve products will be updated to support the latest smart home standard, Matter. In addition, Eve will begin shipping Matter out-of-the-box products beginning March 28th. Now you can use promo code ShaneWatley15 to get 15% off single products right now through March 19th. Links and details will be below in the description. Thanks Eve for that discount code, and thanks for supporting this channel. Smart automations. First of all, thanks to everyone who submitted an automation. We've got some really good ones to go over today. Some are pretty simple, some are a little bit more advanced, but all of them solve a real world problem. Home automations are always best, in my opinion, when they do exactly that, but we all live, our lives and use our smart homes differently, so it's definitely fun to see what other people are doing and how they're, kind of coming up with these creative solutions to solve their problems. Now, the only requirement for these submissions was that it had to be a HomeKit automation. So the first up is an automation from Glenn, living in the often very cold Vancouver, Canada. Now, Glenn has a koi pond on his porch, and he's using an Eve weather to detect when the temperature outside gets too cold. And when it does, when the temperature drops below 1 degree Celsius, a heater for his pond turns on for 12 hours. So the heater turns on and off with just a simple smart plug. Glenn says that this works great for keeping his koi pond warm, especially overnight when the temperatures, tend to drop pretty low. That's a great use for HomeKit automations right there. Now, Dylan has an awesome automation that raises and lowers his TV. He's using a couple of SwitchBot bots integrated into HomeKit through Homebridge to click the buttons basically on the remote control for a motorized TV mount. When his Apple TV turns on, it also turns on his LG TV thanks to HDMI CEC. The automation basically says when the TV turns on to turn on SwitchBot 1, which lowers the TV, and when the LG TV powers off, turn on SwitchBot 2, which raises back up the TV. So that's really awesome. Thank you for that submission. Jamie submitted a clever automation that utilizes motion sensors and an Eve Aqua water controller to keep unwanted animals off of the lawn. He said some of the local cats have started doing their business in the yard and have even started digging up some of the grass and stuff like that. So he created an automation to serve as a friendly deterrent. He is using 2 Hue outdoor motion sensors as well as a motion sensor from a Eufy camera. And when at least 2 of these 3 motion sensors have been triggered, the Eve Aqua will turn on, activating 3 sprinklers in the yard. He said that the sound of the sprinklers coming on is often enough to keep the cats away, but if not, the water certainly will. I especially like that he's using 3 motion sensors and set it up so that at least 2 of the 3 must be triggered in order to run the automation. That's pretty smart. I imagine that would greatly reduce the likelihood of false triggers. Very cool automation. Next one, submitted by Justin in Maryland, kind of blew me away if I'm being honest. Justin has created a dog potty button that will trigger the lights in his house to blink when the dog needs to go outside. You heard that right. The dog has actually been trained to press this smart home button when she needs to go outside. So apparently this thing is fairly common, using something like a bell of some sort, but Justin suffers from hereditary hearing loss and may not be able to hear a bell, which gave him the idea of using a HomeKit automation to flash the lights instead. Justin started training his puppy Ellie when she was just 8 weeks old to hit this little Eve smart button. when she needs to go outside. The Eve button triggers 2 nanoleaf light strips to flash when it's pressed. Now what I thought was pretty smart too is that he's using the same automation for all 3 button presses, being a single press, a double press, and a long press, so that no matter how Ellie touches the button, the automation will still trigger and still flash those lights. Pretty awesome. So it seems like smart home automations for animals is kind of starting to become a bit of a common theme here. This next one, submitted by Ty, is simple but quite effective. He said his cat accidentally turned on the faucet recently, spilling water everywhere in the laundry room. So by simply putting a little Aqara water leak sensor in there, he'll now get notified immediately if water is ever detected, and can even do things like turning the lights throughout the house red and sounding an alarm through the house. He said he also has plans to add the Bulldog water shutoff valve to his setup soon, so that he can take this a step further and actually have the water shut off to the house automatically when water is detected, which is awesome. That is a great automation and something I've set up and have talked about here on the channel before. I'll put a link to a video down in the description where I did just do that. We talk about some water shutoff valves and stuff like that. Great for safety and preventing water damage. There was a similar automation submitted by James that is instead triggered by a smart smoke detector. So he's using the First Alert Z-Wave smoke detector, I believe, and has that exposed to HomeKit through the Habitat hub. So if smoke is ever detected in the house, he has it set for all of his lights throughout the house to come on, as bright as they can, and then to actually unlock the front door. And I think that's pretty clever. To get around the front door lock, that requires an authentication to run because it's a secure accessory. If you know what I'm talking about. James is actually just using a dummy switch in the automation, which triggers another automation to unlock that front door. Therefore, it all just happens automatically. Really good one right there for safety, and I think that's definitely something that I'm gonna set up here in my house. Next, we have a couple of automations around lighting, and just a great thing about smart home automations is simply being able to get multiple devices and multiple things to work together that normally wouldn't. So for example, Ryan has a few automations set up for his backyard, so that if one floodlight is turned on via a smart switch, it also turns on another one, as well as his string lights completely lighten up the backyard. So he's using a couple of Lutron Caseta smart switches and an outdoor smart plug for the string lights. Has them automated so that if you just turn on one, the others come on and off all together, which is pretty nice. Similarly, Brian submitted an automation that turns on his floodlights only between 1 and 5 a.m. when either of his 2 gates are open. Not only that, but it also turns on many of the lights inside his house. So this again is another great automation for safety and can deter someone from breaking in. For this, Brian's using Lutron Caseta smart switches for all of his lights and an Aqara door sensor paired to an Aqara M2 hub for the gates. Now these Aqara door sensors aren't meant to go outdoors, so you will have to weatherproof them. It's actually pretty easy to do. It's something I've done. I actually made a video a while back showing how I did that, which I'll also put a link to below. Now Adam from Adam's Tech Life also shared an automation kind of similar, utilizing an Aqara door sensor on his back gate. Adam's primarily using his to make sure his gate is not left open so that his dogs don't escape. Now he gets notified if the gate is ever opened, and also gets an additional notification from the Aqara app if the gate has been left open for more than 5 minutes. Additionally, he set it up so that Siri will repeat an announcement on his HomePods letting him know that the gate has been left open until someone actually closes the gate. So that's a great automation there. I'll put a link to Adam's YouTube channel below in the description as well if you want to check that out. Frederick submitted an automation that is for his wife. Now, nice job, Frederick, already. Bonus points for setting up a useful automation for your spouse. That alone is very smart. So the problem Frederick was having is that his wife was having trouble remembering to plug in or unplug her curlers in the morning. So Frederick's clever little solution was to put an Eve contact sensor on their shower door. He's using a Connect Sense in-wall smart outlet where his wife actually plugs in her curlers. So when she opens the shower door in the morning, the outlet turns on, which turns on her hair curlers and turns off after 20 minutes. So that seems to work great. When she gets out of the shower, it'll trigger again and her curlers will be ready to go, you know, when she's done drying her hair and all that stuff. He said it only works early in the morning before 10 a.m. So in the event she's ever, you know, getting ready in the evening, she can simply say, turn on the hair curlers or turn off the hair curlers to control them any time of the day with Siri. So great job right there on that automation. Love the use of the door sensor to trigger that automation on the shower. Another submission from Brian shows an automation that shuts the trunk of his Tesla automatically in the event that he or his wife forgets to. How awesome is this? Basically, the automation says that when the garage entry door closes, if the Tesla trunk is open, to close it. He's using Homebridge to integrate his Tesla into HomeKit, and a simple Aqara door sensor is on the door to detect when it's open or closed. Who doesn't like a good sexy time automation? Tim's using a Lutron Pico remote exposed to HomeKit via Homebridge to trigger a HomeKit scene that changes multiple lights in the room blue via a Logitech Harmony hub and Homebridge. The final touch on this one is Genuine's pony actually begins playing on the two HomePod minis above the bed, which I can't play because of copyright strikes, but this one is awesome. And then holding down the same button a second time will reverse everything back to normal. So really cool automation there. And he says the girlfriend loves it. So 2 thumbs up on the sexy time automation. Huge thanks to everyone who submitted an automation. There were some really good ones here today. If this is something that y'all like, maybe we can do more videos like this in the future. And let me know which automation today was your favorite down in the comments below. Hopefully these will help to inspire some ideas for your smart home. And if you have any good ones that you'd like to share today, please go ahead and drop those in the comments. Always good to hear from everybody. I'll put links to pretty much everything that was mentioned in today's video in the description. Again, you can use promo code ShaneWatley15 to get 15% off the Eve products that I mentioned through March 19th. Links and details to all that also below in the description. Thanks again, Eve, for sponsoring today's video and supporting the channel. Now, here are some other videos on screen that you might like if you like this one. Be sure to subscribe for new HomeKit videos every Sunday. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.